Welcome to this month's Bagels in Business. This month, we welcome United States Senator Dean Heller. For more information about this and other events, visit lvlcc.com.
I have the honor and privilege of introducing our first guest, a man that I know very well. We go way back. We've had many debates, discussions, agreements, and disagreements. But I know this, he's never said no to a meeting on behalf of myself or a member. Chris Vito knows this. We've put roundtables together, and that's really what it's about. The people we vote for should have to answer to us, should have to have meetings with us, and he's always done that, and I'm grateful. So I'd like to introduce our senior senator from the state of Nevada, U.S. Senator Dean Heller.
Well, thank you, and what a pleasure to spend a few minutes with you and to see so many friends out there. I will tell you this much, it was easy for you and I to have these discussions because I went through with Otto first. And Otto was the one that we had our debates and our back and forth and our agreements and disagreements. But Otto, I want to thank you.
If you have any cigars with you, give us a
Come to my office, you know, they're there for you. But having said that, it's great to see everybody here. Great to spend a few minutes with you. And I look forward to discussing the issues that are pertinent and important with all of you. Just to give you a little bit of background, I grew up here in Nevada. My father was an auto mechanic, and that, in my opinion, was a blessing to me. I mean, we're talking about a guy that works 60, 70 hours a week. He had his own business, his own shop, and I remember going on dates when I was a teenager, coming by his shop at midnight on a Friday evening and seeing him still in there and dropping off my date and going back to the shop just so that he had company and someone to spend some time with. But what a great example, you know, of hard work and what it takes to succeed. And I learned that at a very early stage. In fact, he made me work in that shop. I had to work in that shop, and so I learned how to use a broom. That's where we began. We used a broom, and later I was taking transmissions out, and later I worked in his engine shop. And here was his rule for me. And he said to me, he said, Dean, he says, you have to work in this shop. The only way you're not working in the shop is, number one, you're going to school, or number two, you're playing a sport. So I played every sport known to man while I was in high school. But having said that, it's great to be here, great to spend some time with you, and it's great to be with a crowd and a community that is very enthusiastic today. Seeing the changes that are going around just here in this community, not only in Las Vegas, but the state of Nevada as a whole, and also, of course, back of what we're dealing with back in Washington, D.C. Seeing the kind of growth we have and the problems that we had just in the last couple of years, the way we were able to get out of the recession. You know how hard it hit and hurt the community. And the goal is to put us in a position now, where we are today, to see sustained growth and continue to see sustained growth so that all of us can enjoy and prosper and take care of our families. And that's the key. That's the goal. That's what we're trying to do here today and what we're always trying to do. So I look forward to the discussion. Peter, thank you. Thanks for the time. Look forward to having this conversation, and I think we can get to the nuts and bolts of what we're trying to do. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for having me here. All right.
Again, Senator, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. In your opinion, is the Latino business community important to the overall success of our community?
Well, I'm going to hold this if you don't mind.
Yeah, you do what you got to do.
Keep it closer to my mouth. I'm not loud.
I'm going to say no to a U.S. Senator.
Yeah, I'm not loud, so I need a mic closer, a little closer. But as I just mentioned in my opening remarks, no state was hurt harder during the last recession than the state of Nevada. In fact, if you stop and take a look at it, the amount of bankruptcies per capita in the state of Nevada during the last recession, the state of Nevada was number one. Now that has all changed. That has all changed. We are number one in job growth in the country. Number one in job growth. But if you want to look at new business starts in this state, it is the Hispanic community that have a major proportion of those new business starts. So if you're asking me, does it have an impact on the economy, impact on Las Vegas, impact on the state of Nevada, I will tell you what's driving this economy is small businesses. What's driving small businesses right now in a very large share, greater than their population, is the Hispanic community right now.
Well, I think also we need to mention that Hispanic businesses, Hispanic-owned businesses, are failing at a 3-to-1 less rate than non-Hispanic businesses. So they're very entrepreneur, very excited, and
they work as hard as my dad did.
That's right.
They do. They work as hard as my dad did.
How can you, as a senator, help Latino businesses in Nevada?
Just make sure that there's an environment out there that works for everybody. Everybody has an equal opportunity to succeed. And we can't guarantee success. And I think most people realize you can't guarantee success, but the playing field has to be even. And that's what I work on when I'm back in Washington, D.C. We've done a lot of good things in Washington, D.C., I believe, in the last couple of years. I think tax reform being one of them. And the purpose of tax reform was to get capital into the United States. We had trillions of dollars sitting offshore because these international companies couldn't afford to bring their capital back into the country because they were taxed twice. So we eliminated the second tax. It didn't cost you 35% of your revenue to bring it back into the country. We eliminated that, so we were able to bring trillions of dollars back into this country. So not only through tax reform, but through banking reform, and then through small business opportunities that we provided. We have business development companies that if you have problems getting normal or the kind of loans that you need, there were other opportunities and alternatives of being able to get capital in order to start your small businesses. That was the piece of legislation that I passed back in Washington, D.C. So to me, it was a three-legged stool. It was tax reform, banking reform, small business capitalization reform. And through these business development companies, we're now able to get alternative capital that otherwise wasn't available to our communities. And it has been a tremendous amount of growth. When you put that kind of capital into your communities, you're going to see the kind of businesses and small businesses flourish as we're seeing today.
So regarding there was last legislative session here in Nevada, there was a big movement on the $15 an hour. The Latin Chamber is taking kind of a stance that why limit ourselves to $15 an hour? Like, we want to create environments where there's $20 an hour jobs, $30 an hour construction jobs, or more, right? I'm wondering, how do you feel about the $15 an hour movement?
Well, first of all, there's recent articles out there saying that the job growth in wages in the United States last quarter, or even last month, I think it was like 2.9%. Largest increase in wage growth in the last 25 years. So with the changes of the tax code, with the changes of banking reform, with the changes of other capital projects, we're now seeing that it's imperative to businesses to pay their employees. Because right now in the state of Nevada, for the first time we've seen in 10 years, we have more jobs available than people looking for work. Think about that. More jobs available in the state right now than people looking for work. You better start paying your employees a higher wage, or they're going to start looking somewhere else. In fact, one of the statistics that I really like is that people are leaving their work at the highest percentage. I think it was like 17%, highest in the last 15 years. People are leaving their jobs. The reason they're leaving their jobs is because they're going to better jobs. And that's the key with a strong economy, is that you leave your job, if you have to find a better job. And that's what we want. We want better jobs out there, and I think that's what's building. So if you want to talk about minimum wage, I think first of all that it's the governor and the state legislature's responsibility to decide that. But I don't think that there ought to be a national minimum wage, because there's a big difference between New Jersey and Nevada. There's a big difference between Nevada and New York. Let the states decide if, in fact, one, they want a minimum wage, which I don't think is a bad idea, but number two, to what rate should that be? So I'll leave that to the governor, the next governor, I guess, and the next legislature to decide that decision.
Let's switch gears for a second and talk about I-11 and then impact on our business community. How involved have you been with I-11, and where do you see this thing going?
Well, there's three things that your federal government does for you. Three things. Number one, keep you safe. That's my number one job and responsibility, is to keep everybody here in this room, everybody in Las Vegas, everybody in the state of Nevada, everybody across the country safe. So defense is our number one responsibility. Our second responsibility after keeping you safe is infrastructure. That's the second most important thing that I do. And it isn't just building bridges and roads. It's obviously technology and data and broadband and all those issues that come with technology. But if you want commerce to flourish, you have to have the ability of moving products from one side of the country to the next. And that's why I-11 is such a priority for me. As most of you here in this room know, Phoenix and Las Vegas are the two largest cities in America that do not have a freeway between them. Think about that. To me, that is our number one infrastructure project in this state, is to get a freeway. Now, I had a daughter that went to Arizona State, and I'm sure a lot of people in this room have driven from here to Phoenix and know that that's a very difficult way to move, and that has to change. I've been in Phoenix with working groups there. I've been here in Las Vegas with working groups. I am pleased and frankly quite satisfied with what the state of Nevada is doing on the I-11. In fact, I think we have a grand opening tomorrow. We have several phases that are now open, and the ring around Boulder City and all that. So if you go from the dam, you can get from the dam to Las Vegas quite easily. Try to go from the dam to Phoenix. Arizona's not, in my opinion, not doing enough. And they're not working fast. They don't even have the right-of-way yet. The right-of-way. Yet here we are, freeways built between the dam and Las Vegas, and yet they're still trying to figure out the right-of-way in Arizona. So I'm frustrated with that. But to me, that's the number one project. Not only is it good for Las Vegas, clearly it is, getting people back and forth between Phoenix and Las Vegas, but the connection between LA, Phoenix, Las Vegas, and back to California is critical for infrastructure, not only for this community, but for the whole Southwest.
Excellent. Let me ask you, how can Latino businesses get better access to federal contracts and grants?
Call my office.
Everybody hear that?
Call my office. No, that's what we do. We have Arnie here.
And we've done that for a couple members, so I know this is true, but I want them to hear that.
But, Arnie spoke for a couple of minutes, and I assure you, and I don't see Arnie.
He's in the back.
Oh, there he is. But if there's anybody that has the backs of veterans in our delegation, it's my office. We work hard every single day to make sure that our veterans are taken care of. And I will do the same thing for every small business in Nevada. If you call my office, we'll stop what we're doing to make sure that we can help you and support you. Whatever these contracts may be, whatever grants that you're looking for, we can help write the grants, get you the support, or even point you in the right direction of where you need to go in order to get access to this capital and the grants that are available at the federal level. My job is constituency service, and the small businesses in this state I defend. And sometimes I even take heat for the amount of effort that I'll go through for any small business in the state of Nevada, but I assure you I'll do it.
So you supported the recent tax cuts and Jobs Act. How has Nevada benefited from this act? What are you hearing?
We are the fastest growing state in the country right now. Now I say that, and that isn't even true. We are the second fastest growing state in the country. You know what number one is? It's South Carolina. I got to talk to Tim Scott and figure out what they're doing over there, because I'm so used to Nevada being the fastest growing state, but right now South Carolina. I saw a statistic that was talking about net migrations, people moving into states across this country. Nevada's 5.5% annually net immigration or net migrant growth. Net migrant growth is 5.5%. I think South Carolina was like 5.6. Do you know what California is? Negative 1.4. Negative 1.4 people want out of California. And they're coming to Nevada, and they're coming to Arizona, and they're coming to Utah, and they're going to Texas. But they want out of California for obvious reasons. And I think that we have a great community here. I think it's a community that warrants the kind of attention that it's getting. I think our mayors, our county commissioners, city council, even the governor and the legislature are so pro-business. That's why you're seeing the kind of growth that we have here in the state of Nevada right now. And I do believe that Washington's working finally with you. And getting the capital back into this country so that small businesses like yourselves and across this community has access to it so that they can expand. I want to make one more point if I can, Peter. I received an endorsement from the National Federation of Independent Businesses. And we have an NFIB chapter here in Nevada. and I had a town hall meeting with a lot, and there's like 1,400 members of NFIB here in Nevada. We did a town hall meeting with them, and we did a survey. It wasn't scientific, just did a survey on this phone call with all these small businesses. Do you know that here in Nevada, 90% that responded to the survey said that they were going to expand their business, or they were going to increase their wages, or they were going to offer bonuses, you name it, whatever the myriad of opportunities there was for their workers and for their businesses to grow, and of course hire new employees. So we're seeing for all communities, a real opportunity here. And the question is this: can we sustain this? And we've seen 4.1% growth. 4.1% growth. Remember, the previous administration said that the new norm was less than 2%. We're now seeing 4.1%. Can we have 4%, 5%, even 6% growth? I would love to know what the growth is in Nevada. You know, nationally it's 4.1%. I guarantee you here in Las Vegas and across this state, it's higher than 4%. It may be 5 or 6% growth in the state of Nevada right now. I'd like to know what that is, but the question is it sustainable? And the only way you make it sustainable is make sure that you have the infrastructure in order to achieve it. And that's why I-11 is so important.
I want to touch on marijuana. The people have spoken here in our state. I believe that we should listen to the people. Marijuana is legal here. What I'm hoping to avoid, and we should all avoid, is people in the marijuana industry driving around with cash money and getting robbed, armed robberies. When do you think banking is going to be allowed to come into the fold?
Well, first of all, it needs to happen. Let's be very honest. Everybody in here, that needs to happen. You can't be running around town with a suitcase with $100,000 in it. I mean, think about and we
Otto is walking around with that money right now.
But imagine how dangerous that is. This is what I think. This is what I think. If the federal government doesn't solve this problem, the state of Nevada ought to open up a state bank. They ought to open up a bank in southern Nevada and a bank in northern Nevada so that you can do your banking in a place for this industry to do their banking. And you can do that. North Dakota used to have their own state bank. It wasn't for this purpose, but it was just because the medium size and they didn't have enough community banks. So the North Dakota, a couple of decades ago, had their own state bank. We ought to do that for this industry if we can't get the federal government to pass something that offers financial institutions the incentive or allows them to collect these dollars.
It's a terrific idea. So let's talk about Yucca Mountain. It's in the news a lot lately. It seems always, every time we're told it's dead, it's never been dead. And so where are we with Yucca Mountain? Give us an update on Yucca Mountain.
Well, let me tell you how close it is. They had a party in the House of Representatives, a Yucca Mountain party, because they were able to achieve getting $30 million into the defense budget for the sole purpose of starting the licensing project and to renew the licensing project for Yucca Mountain. So they had a party. Think about that. They're having parties in Washington, D.C. right now to push Yucca Mountain. Now on the Senate side, that $30 million got yanked out. We took it out. And I think that's the importance of seniority back in Washington, D.C. You don't want to lose that seniority. I sit on the Finance Committee, the Banking Committee, the Commerce Committee, and the most important one, Arnie, is the Veterans Committee, but gives me the opportunity to yank those kind of dollars out of the budget when it would be hurtful for the state of Nevada. I know that this is a full-time job for me, but as long as I am in the United States Senate, as long as I'm in the United States Senate, Yucca Mountain will not be built. But I can't say that if I'm not in the United States Senate. So I would appreciate your help, your support, keeping me in there. But that's my pledge. And the Senate lives by certain different rules than the House of Representatives. And I've already told them I'm going to shut the place down if you think you're going to push.
So let's stay on that for a second, because I want to make sure that everybody. And by the way, this is being filmed and recorded. So that a larger audience can watch at a later time. So I'm wondering, let's talk about seniority in the Senate. Walk people through what that means, having seniority. How do you get on important committees? How can you be relevant as a senator?
Well, let me answer it this way. I'm asked by the press, why do I do this? You see all the commercials out there and how negative all this can get. Why do you continue to do this? And here's my answer. Because the good outweighs the bad. Now, the bad is the traveling back and forth. I mean, I'm here in Las Vegas right now, and I'll take 108 degrees any day over the swamp, all right? Any day. I'm right here having this conversation. But the good is that I'm in the majority. The good is we have a Republican in the White House. The good is I'm on the Finance Committee, the Banking Committee, the Commerce Committee. I'm on the committees that I want to be on, including the Veterans Committee. Those are the committees that I can make the most difference for this community and for the state of Nevada. So I will continue to serve as a United States Senator as long as the good outweighs the bad. And today it definitely does. If I wasn't there today, we're talking about seniority. Think about 1864 when Nevada became a state. We sent 2 senators to the United States Senate, and they had 0 seniority. 0. You think they got much done? When you had 0 seniority? Right now, if I'm replaced in the United States Senate, do you know how much seniority we'd have in the United States Senate? 2 years. In other words, in 1866, at least we had 4. If we put a new senator in there today, we'd have less seniority in the United States Senate than we did in 1866. Do you think we're going to stop Yucca Mountain? If you only have 2 years of seniority in the United States Senate, that's the only place you can stop it. And if you take Nevada's seniority out of the equation, you will have Yucca Mountain by next year.
Wow. So can you talk about examples of when you worked with colleagues on the other side? Because, it seems, what we see on the news and all is all contention, everybody fighting. Tell us about some examples where you've worked with the other side.
It's the best part. The reason I like serving on the Veterans Committee is because it is a nonpartisan committee. Republicans and Democrats work together for the betterment of our veterans here in Nevada, Las Vegas, across the country. We work together. In fact, the Mission Act, I think, was a perfect example. Another $50 billion that went to the health care of our veterans across this country. I worked with a number of colleagues to do so. And let me make this announcement. By all analysis back in Washington, D.C., I am the 5th most bipartisan member of the United States Senate. I am the 5th most bipartisan member of the United States Senate. That means only this. This is what it means. It means that if there's a good idea out there, I don't care if it's a Republican idea or a Democrat idea or an independent idea. If it's a good idea and it's good for the state of Nevada, and it's good for the country, I will support it. So I asked Joe Manchin the amount of times we've worked together. Joe Donnelly from Indiana, the amount of times we worked together. I've even worked with Bernie Sanders on good ideas that he has come up with. And he'll approach me, and most of the time, I don't agree with Bernie Sanders. But if Bernie Sanders has a good idea, I'll support it. And I worked with the previous administration, the Obama administration, on ideas that were important for this state. I've worked with this administration, and prior to that, I worked with the Bush administration on good ideas. Not that we always agree. In fact, Trump was down here a couple of weeks ago, and one of the comments that he made at a rally was that Heller and I don't always agree. Nothing could be more true. We don't always agree, and Heller is a tough negotiator. And if that's coming from the President of the United States, I'll take it. I'll take it, because we don't always agree. I don't always agree with this president. I don't always agree with the governor. And I don't always agree with my wife. The only difference is that my wife is always right.